cuts of Brazilian meats. That every time they will come through, I'm like, yeah, put that on the plate, because they would just come with the knife. And once they'd ask you like, would you like this? Yes, okay. Boom, they'd stick the thing. The meat is on a shish kebab. They put it on your plate. They slice it down. There's your meat. All right, anyone want else? Boom, slice it down.
Mad Max was the turnout of my lifestyle. Smoking green, blowing white clouds to build the blue skies. Conversating with the gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Walk through the sands of times like Gara. On the other side of that gad is karma. You wet Prada, the devil like inside your box now. While the angels fly over my headstone.
We are back with another episode of the God's Hour podcast with your boy Big Cervelli, back in the place to be, La Merca Superior, Palace 81. We in the building, live in effect, live and direct. It's your boy, Mr. Nine Times. Yeah. All right. So it's been a while since I last saw you, and soft rock wasn't good. Nah, I don't know. All right. So it's kind of been a while. It's already been like 2 weeks since I went to my trip to Mexico, and you haven't heard about it. Why? Because I have shit going on in my life. Yes. So I have so many episodes of the God's Hour lined up for y'all. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you come to realize that you are being connected with the livelihood of my life. And my life is really fucking busy. Yes. Even when I'm on vacation, I'm not on vacation. I'm doing this. So I'm trying to put my fucking page somewhere. It's flying. The fan is taking this shit everywhere. I can't wait till summer, until we have cold weather. I can wear my jackets and shit, or some other shit. I didn't do my hair, so I'm wearing a fucking hat. I think that was a bad idea. At least should have combed this shit. But look at my hair, yo. My hair is all kinds of fucking trata right now. Get some of this cold water in my hands and just smooth my hair. My hair is so thick. Over here, look at this shit, bruh. So I went to Mexicali over my vacation, and I hadn't seen my tia. I don't know if I covered this, right? But let's just say I didn't. So I went over on my vacation. There's something on my screen. What the fuck? What the fuck is that? Anyway, while nothing's distracting me, I went on vacation. I hadn't seen my tia in like 8 years. So I'm kind of, it's crazy because my grandma's house is like a time capsule, you know. It's something that it'll change, you know what I mean, a little bit, but not really too much, especially since my grandma hasn't been living over there. She was living with us for like a while, and then she recently moved in with my tia. She got her own place somewhere, and if I do it backwards, I feel like if I wear my hat backwards, I feel like Ash Ketchum. All right, we're just going to rock it right here for now because my hair is all fucked up and I don't want you looking at my hair. So while my dog is over here going to sleep or something, yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you live, homie. Yeah, it's right. So my grandma's house is a little bit different with her gone. The little room she had with the Santo Niño de Atocha and the cigarette she had, the little offering she had, is literally like a storage place of just a whole heap of shit. And I feel like a lot of places in my grandma's house are like that. It's just piles and piles of shit. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like everybody has like a pile of like just nonsense in their house, to where it could be anything from diapers to clothes to just little knickknacks and stuff like that. That's something I really got to be acutely aware of, because I buy like all these Pokemon plushies and stuff, and I don't really have anywhere to put them, so they just kind of pile around different areas of my room. And I notice I'm like, whenever I move, it's gonna be like not even big things. It's just gonna be like bags and bags of little shit that I've just collected throughout my life that I just love. You know what I mean? Like the Squirtle plushie, huh? Like my action figure, my wrestling action figures, my Funko Pops, my paintings, my DVD collection, just a whole bunch of stuff that I have in my room. I hadn't seen my tia in like 8 years, and she had been telling me for years and years, I want to see you, I want to see you, and I would always tell her like, yeah, I'm gonna come over, and the reason why I'm not gonna lie, I've had a pretty poor, shitty excuse as to like not going to my grandma. Really, the underlying issue is I don't speak fluent Spanish. So that's really why I never really like going to my grandma's, because I could never talk to her, And every time I would tell my parents, like, can you translate for me? My parents would just be like, well, you talk to her. She understands you. I'm like, no, my grandma doesn't understand me. She never learned English. What the fuck? So I thought I always like had a gripe with my parents about that shit. But this time around, I would actually have my parents like, yo, tell my tia that. Like, no, you tell her. No, you tell her in fucking Spanish. I can't tell her. The way I think about it is I probably speak Spanish the way like fucking Mexicans speak English when they first come here. Like, what's happening? You know what I mean? Like they have just, you could tell like, ¿qué pasó aquí? What happened? What happened here? Like, like Joey Diaz, that one joke he has with his dad. That's hilarious. But I would imagine it's something like that. Like, oh, you could tell, like, I look Mexican, but to other Mexicans, it's just different. Like, so they'll test you. They'll say something in Spanish. And there I go. If I open my mouth, they'll know, like, oh, okay, you're American. Like, you're not Mexican, which is a super big difference. I don't know if I want to go too deep into that. But basically, I consider myself Chicano, first generation, which is all the Mexicans that came here and stayed in America. And Mexican is just straight up, you're Mexican. You came from Mexico, which is my mom. My dad is Chicano. And I'm like half and half. I'm like half Chicano, half Mexican. But I consider myself first generation because my dad's first generation. My mom is straight from Mexico. So I identify with both pretty much, but like I lean more towards Chicano, but I don't forget my roots. There's a lot of my homies and shit that they're more like Americanized, but most of my homies like that I grew up with, they're first generation. Maybe not most, but for like a good amount are first generation themselves. And I'm kind of like definitely in the middle where it's like my dad is first generation. So I'm kind of like 1.5 generations. I don't know. I still consider myself to be the first to come here because I still like growing up, I would still have them kind of like first generation battles to where like people would look at us weird in the stores growing up, or whenever you spoke Spanish, people would look at you weird like, hey, what's going on over here? What the fuck? So if you're not really going to understand that if you've been here for generations already and you know how it is, versus when you go to the park and you go to like the community gatherings and shit like I went to in Almonte or Baldwin Park, everyone there is speaking predominantly Spanish. And there's only a few people that speak English. There's a lot of those places still around, especially in California. I doubt it'd be anywhere else besides like Texas and California. I can't speak for like New Mexico and all the other border states with Mexico, like Arizona or New Mexico. But I know for sure there's a lot of places where you go and they're only speaking Spanish. Like that's like, I'm pretty sure they can and they have a few words that they speak in English, but it's predominantly Spanish for sure. That's the dominant. Even though they're in America, you would swear that there's like this is Little Mexico for sure. There's a lot of places like that when I was growing up. El Monte, Baldwin Park. I grew up with a lot of people speaking to me in Spanish, and I would understand them and I would speak to them in English. That's kind of how it's always been with me and my family or other people. But after a while, once you get into like the advanced Spanish, like college level Spanish, I can't do it with you. Maybe even lesser, like high school Spanish or something. It's like the like not even the conjugations, but the imperfect, the past tense and future tenses and all that. I could get away with like, the present speaking Spanish for sure. I got that pretty much on lock. But if someone's talking about like the past or more advanced Spanish, I definitely like, you'll lose me for sure. And that's something I want to change for sure, man. Like at least like my whole goal, and the time is running out fast, is to speak at least have a conversation with one of my grandparents or one of my grandmas, because both of my grandpas are no longer in the physical, but have a conversation with at least one of my grandmas, before they depart into the spirit world or whatever the fucking the next chapter of this shit is. So I haven't seen my tia since 2015. The last time I went there, I had gone with my sister, and that was when Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly" had just came out, just went on fire. That was, to give you context, that's when I first started rapping. That was when I was still like heavy in my like graffiti phase, kind of like phasing out of graffiti, going into rapping. So I was still pretty much going everywhere with my black book and my markers. And on top of that, I would have my rhyme book. And at that point, if this is like, I went on my spring break, so let's just say it's the end of March, beginning of April, I probably only had like 3 tracks recorded ever that I had ever done. So it's pretty crazy to look back. Like, that's how long it's been since I seen my tia. And I remember we were bumping Kendrick Lamar, the "To Pimp a Butterfly" album. My favorite tracks from him were, at the time, definitely "Hood Politics." King Kunta was all right. That was a little bit more like neo G-Funk, or however you want to call it, new G-Funk or whatever you want to call it, like a newer version of G-Funk that later YG would kind of like bring back and popularize. That kind of like, it fizzled out. As soon as YG stopped doing G-Funk, it was like, it was over as far as like the big rappers were doing. It was definitely just YG. And I would say what's his name? G-Eazy has more of like a Bay Area sound, but even his shit is more like, he has them pockets of classic G-Funk, Bay Area sound, however you distinguish that genre. Kendrick Lamar had my favorite, definitely All Right, Still Free, or For Sale for Free. Is it called For Free, right? For Sale for Free. This dick ain't free. You're looking at me, whatever flow he was going to For Sale. And it was fire. Album was fire. I definitely remember us taking edibles though to my grandma's house, and I'm pretty sure we had some there, or if not, we ate them on the way there. And I remember we would my sister would make us micheladas, and we watched George Carlin's "Life is Worth Losing" for the first time. That was crazy. We watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest for the first time, which is a very interesting film. And we were in my grandma's room, and my grandma and my tia, at that time it was just my grandma and my tia Mago staying at the house. And it was just like, we would stay in my grandma's room, and that's how like my grandma, it's crazy because my abuelita Lola was probably the most loving parental figure in my life ever, you know what I mean? It's like my grandma always had this crazy kind of love for me, you know what I mean? I can't speak for my other cousins or my other family members, but definitely for me, for sure. Like, she would always talk about how I was a kid, and you know, I would do these little things or whatever. Like, she would remember just like fond memories I had. And I have fond memories of being in Mexico as well as a kid, like that fucking Dalmatian she had tied up by her tree. I remember I put my finger like right above its mouth, and it looked at me and it bit the fuck out of my finger, and I was crying. I literally saw like the white meat, like it bit into the white meat of my finger, and I was crying. My mom gave me a Band-Aid, and it was no big deal. But I remember like fucking hating that dog for a while. My grandma at one point had a shitload of dogs. Now they just have Scooby, which is the German Shepherd my tia Jorina has. My tia Jorina raised me in Baldwin Park in the summers. And Spike, they had a German Shepherd named Spike, rest in peace. He passed away in 2020. And Spike had a whole bunch of German Shepherds. And one of them, Scooby, they gave to my tia in Mexico, and he has to be like 10 years old. Like, he's an old ass dog. Like, he's for sure like in like the last part, like he's in the last chapter of his life. God bless him with more years for sure. But he's like, Mexican dogs, bro, they probably don't even get like any types of veterinarians or anything like that. Like, my mom has told me like pretty sad stories about their dogs growing up, you know. No, and it's crazy because me having Presley, he's like my first dog to where I'm learning all these things that you should know as a dog. Like, I'm pretty much like, he's my first one. Like, we've had other dogs before, but I didn't take care of him. Versus with Presley, I'm learning all this shit that I didn't know, like, as a kid. Like, you don't know what a dog needs. Like, same thing a human needs, okay? Like, you know, you learn the basics, okay? Food, water, shelter. That's pretty much, as long as you give that to a dog, fucking beachy Mexicans, that's all a dog needs. That's all you're going to provide for the dog. But a dog is a lot like a human or any other animal, right? Because we're all animals. Even though we could talk and we can articulate things and build shit and mathematics, okay, but we're not too far off from apes that have intelligent minds, you know what I mean? So with dogs, I'm learning, you know, there's medical coverage. They have all kinds of diseases that they need veterinarians. Grooming, you know, they need their dental and all that shit. Like, I don't know about all this stuff before, but just seeing Scooby at my grandma's house over there in Mexico, it was like, wow, like, I hope this fool's getting taken care of, you know what I mean? And he's just in the cage, and he's probably not even socialized. He's probably not even used to being around people. Like, the way a lot of dogs are in Mexico is they're like guard dogs that don't even get taken care of. So they're like slave guards or something like that. You know, they only they're in cages, and they only let them out at night every day, so that anytime there's an intruder, they see a big ass German Shepherd, they're like, yeah, I'm not going to break into this fool's house. Next house. You know, that's pretty much my grandma's block on that alley I would walk through. You see all the dogs, like, they all, you know, you be thinking it's like just a quiet house. As soon as you walk by that front yard, you know, fucking, you see either whatever, a pit bull, a lab, probably not even a lab. Labs are fucking expensive, but just whatever, any kind of dog is gonna come up and run up on you, you know. So I hadn't seen my cousins in that long, so I hadn't seen my cousin Alexa. She's like freaking like tomboyish. It's funny. She reminds me of something out of like a Tim Burton movie or something. Like, when I seen her, she looks all like tomboy. And then what's his name? Andres. He's like 14. And he's learning English, which is funny because his English is funny as fuck, and he'll try hard to speak English. I'll tell him, like, don't even worry. The fact that you like even try to speak English is funny to me, and I get that. So we kind of meet halfway with like Spanglish. Like, if he doesn't understand things, he'll talk to me in Spanish, and if he doesn't understand certain things to me, I'll talk to him in English. And it's kind of like, you know, we kind of meet halfway with that shit. It was really dope. We just came to see my tia Mago because it was her birthday. And the crazy part was the last time, because she always calls, like, the video calls with my parents. And she was saying, like, you know, I want to see you. And I was like, you know, I always tell her, like, yeah, I'm going to see you. And I really do mean it. Like, I'm like, one of these days I'm going to see you. Like, I'm not one of these assholes like, oh, yeah, like, you know, like, I'll hit you up or for sure, you know what I mean? And then you never do it. I'm like, when I tell you, like, we're gonna do it. Like, we're gonna do it. It might take a while or it might take some time, but just know I'm not trying to blow that shit off. Like, for sure we're gonna do that shit. So I always had it in the back of my mind, like, for sure I'm gonna go back. With me, I don't like the whole traveling part. I don't like sitting in a car for hours. I don't like in the bed I slept on, even just for the 2 days, fuck my whole back up. Like, the whole car ride going home, my back was hurting and shit like that. So the next time I go over there, I'm gonna need to buy one of them Tempur-Pedic things you just lay over a bed so your back just doesn't get annihilated. So I'm better prepared now of what it is, because my grandma used to have like better beds, and now they're like fucking worse than cots, I feel like, because with a cot, at least it's like a canvas that supports your weight. What they have are like fucking cinder blocks with 2 blankets over there. So I'm like, I don't know what kind of beds they buy. It honestly feels like you're just laying on a box spring with blankets over it. It was really fun to see my tia. She was really nice to see me. My tia Chipina was there too, because my tia Mago, she needs to get taken care of. So my tia Chipina, she's like always there and stuff with her kids, my cousins Alexa, Andres. My tio Alfonso was there too. So I seen him. He was balding. He's getting big now. My tia Chipina is getting big too. So I'm like, God damn. And it was really good to see that, man. It made me realize that, like, even with traveling and all that shit, even though I don't like that, and I don't really like enjoying the nuances of the trip or whatever. Just the whole point is to be in the trip, to be there with the family, and see how everybody's doing. Like, 8 years is way too fucking long. You know what I mean? I can't speak for my sister, but I'm pretty sure my sister hasn't seen my tia Mago in that long as well. I'm pretty sure my sister hasn't taken a trip to go see them. I mean, I don't see it. My sister is like fucking probably just as busy as me, because she's got a whole bunch of shit going on in her life. And that's just kind of what the sad part about life is. Like, our family is so fucking big, and you grow up with all your cousins and stuff like that. And as you grow up, just everyone like lives their own lives and shit. And it's kind of tough, you know what I mean? Like, just as a rapper, as like an entrepreneur and all this shit. I don't even like calling myself a rapper, but as an artist, being out here making moves and trying to do shows and make music and shit. I really sacrificed a lot, and it really makes me mad, because like some of my cousins, like, like, you could have went here, but you didn't. Da, 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 da. Like, I missed a whole bunch of shit, and it's like, well, whatever. Like, I always took it as like full, like, they really don't understand, because it's like, you work a 9 to 5, so you pretty much, you have the weekends and you don't have shit going on, bro. Like me, I'm super fucking busy every day. Like, there's a whole schedule that I do on top of working. Like, on top of the fact that I work almost full time, I have like a whole bunch of other businesses that I'm working on. And it's just hard. It's really hard to balance family life and work. And whenever like my family comes over and shit, it's just a lot more convenient to do that than me going out and seeing them wherever the fuck they are. Like, we all live in different areas around the US, much less California. Victorville, West Covina, Baldwin Park, El Monte, Pomona, Fontana. Like, it's just, we have family everywhere, bro. Like, it's hard to keep up with everybody when everybody's spread out. Downey. There's so many more places that I'm missing. Texas, out of state, out of country, Mexico, different cities in Mexico. I actually do want to go see Hermosillo again. It's been almost 10 years, bro. It's been how long has it been? Since 20? No, it has been 10 years, because it was 2013 the last time I went there, the one and only time I went there. And I remember the best Burger King of all time was definitely in Sonora. I probably wasn't Hermosillo, but Sonora. I remember it was tripping me out, like, the freshest cheese, lettuce, like, everything was bomb. I'm like, damn, bro, Burger King got the best the best Burger King is definitely in Mexico, and it was tripping me out. I think I had like a Whopper or something like that, like a Whopper combo, and it was fire, bro. Like it was literally. I'm like the Burger Kings in America aren't even this bomb. You know what I mean? The cheese just tasted like real cheese, not that, Kraft Singles bullshit, the tomatoes and everything. The beef, you could tell it was local beef, not that pink slime pressed down shit you get here for sure. Like it's like local, like everything is fresh. Like you could tell they probably killed the cow yesterday and they served it to you today type shit, So I definitely want to go back to Hermosillo. There's a lot of parts where my family from in Mexico, like León. I always talk about León in my songs. I've never been to León. There's a whole bunch of places that we're from in Mexico that I've never been to that I probably got to talk to my dad about. My parents, they've been to Jamaica, Costa Rica, most recently Dominican Republic. But to me, there's no connection with that. If you're just staying in a hotel resort somewhere in France, okay, but you could do that anywhere. So really, you're not there. You're in a resort, and it just so happens you're around a place that you're not familiar with. But when you're actually in the street, when you're actually with your family, and you're there where your ancestors have walked the same roads and ate the same type of foods, that's a real, genuine connection that I want to be connected with, because all I've ever known is here, like in Cali, right? And this is for sure my home, but like home, the tierra, the motherland, where we all come from, the earth, that's Mexico, man. And every time I go to Mexico, it's just kind of like it's like going to like Disneyland or something, like a faraway place like Star Wars, a galaxy far, far away, but it's familiar, and it's something that it's the roots. It's like, where you come from. And I feel like if any other Chicano or Mexicano doesn't feel like that, I feel like you're just, I don't know, like there's some sort of disconnect with your people. And I remember as a kid, I didn't like identifying as being identified as Mexican, as stupid as I was, like being all like atheistic and not giving a fuck, just being like really angry and just having a whole bunch of issues as a kid that I guess is normal kid shit. You should be angry. You should feel them type of things because you're a fucking kid and you don't know no better. You think you have it all figured out and life should just come to you, versus like you should just, life is a wave and you just got to ride it like through the ups and downs, So yeah, that's just how I feel. The next, what are we gonna do? Well, should I conclude it? I think I should just talk about the Mexico trip, because I'm over here trying to talk about other bullshit. But so we left Sunday, and the day before was Go Fest Day 1. I got some good shiny Pokemon. Sunday we left, and I was playing literally Go Fest while we're on the road to Mexico. And in Mexico. So while we're in Mexico, we unpacked and everything. When we got there, we ate at Taco Zaid, which is like a phenomenal taco place that has 2.5 stars on Google. And now I could see why, because going there again after so long, the one of the original guys that worked there, he's all old now. Like before, I remember he had like, there were like younger dudes and all that. But now they're all old. And it's pretty much the one owner and the son that worked there, at least when we were there. And all they sell is carne asada. And it might not be the carne asada, like the best carne asada, but I mean, it was bomb to me. Like the way they make their tortillas, the flour tortillas are bomb. I'm not a big fan of corn tortillas, especially theirs. Like to me, it's just kind of like, it's just like real hard. And not that crispy and shit. So the flour tortillas are bomb. The carne asada is pretty good to me. But eating it again, I was like, oh, okay. Like I could see how, to me, the carne that they had, at least with the tacos they gave me, they were a little dried out. The only reason really why we always eat there is because that's right around the corner from my grandma's house. So we're not going to go fucking out the way to really eat unless it's somewhere really good, like this Brazilian place we went to for my tia Mago's birthday dinner. It's like this Brazilian place that's like the Benihanas of Mexico or something. Like they're all throughout Mexico. And it's kind of like a buffet style. So there's dudes walking around with like meats on skewers, and they have like a full buffet bar where they have like some cheap ass pizza that tasted like shit, some French fries that were pretty good, and then they have the desserts. The desserts were pretty trash, and other type things, right? But really where they killed it was their selection of different carne and chicken, which was fire. Like they had this chicken that they had put like stuffed cheese in there or something like that, something crazy, and different cuts of Brazilian meats. That every time they will come through, I'm like, yeah, put that on the plate, because they would just come with the knife. And once they'd ask you like, would you like this? Yes, okay. Boom, they'd stick the thing. The meat is on a shish kebab. They put it on your plate. They slice it down. There's your meat. All right, anyone want else? Boom, slice it down. And there you are with your meats. And every time they would call and be like, yeah, yes, bring that here, yeah. I'm not afraid. What do you think? Come on, bro. I'm big. I'm a big boy. Come on now. You get it. Pause. You bring the shit over here, and I'm gonna taste everything, the selection of foods that they got, because I'm not I want to experience life to the fullest, you know what I mean? Even if it is like a Mexican version of Brazilian food, it doesn't matter. Like, I want to try that shit. I never had Brazilian food. So the fact that we went to a Brazilian place was bomb. And it was funny because my cousin Andres, he's 14, right? He's a kid. So he's like, oh, we've been to this place. I don't really like the food's not really that good here. And my mom was like, oh, that's all right. We got cereal or some shit like that at the house, or some funny shit like that. And my mom was kind of like complaining about it. And I'm like, Mom, he's fucking a kid. Like, of course he's gonna fucking want McDonald's over In-N-Out or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't even, as a kid, like, you just have like this like warped sense of reality because you haven't experienced shit. You haven't really gone out. Like me, I thank God that I've experienced a lot. Like in the first quarter of my life or whatever, I've experienced going to China, going to Mexico. Where else have I gone? Not even just traveling, but just being around different parts of like the negatives, the positives, the this, the that, just seeing a lot. It opens your eyes really to the world, and you appreciate things versus like when you're a kid, you don't care about that. You just want to stick to what you know, and what you know is very little, right? So I didn't even, I didn't even really care. And what's so crazy is he put salsa like on a taco or something, my cousin, and he bit into it, and a piece of salsa went into his eye, and he was like, like all fucking the Phantom of the Opera face. And like, honestly, I just turned my head and I just started laughing. I'm like, this fucking kid is like a glutton for punishment. Like, he's just kind of like half a klutzo, but I mean, he's a kid, bro. Like, it's just kind of funny. Like, just, a lot of my uncles would laugh at me for shit like that. And I would think like, oh, they're laughing at me. Like, it's personal, like I'm fucking laughing at you. But no, really, it's like you're a kid and they're just laughing at the fact that like, you're a kid, bro. Like, it's just funny. Like, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at like, okay, I'm laughing at you, but it's not intentional. Like, it's not a negative, like, versus as an adult and you see another adult that happens to, and you like deliberately be like, ha ha, like that's kind of like, okay, now you're being disrespectful, bro. Like, I'm going to check you at this point. So the food was really good. And it was just a short trip, man. We went to La Cachanilla that Sunday, and I was catching some good Pokemon. There was some fine mommies in Mexico, bro. I was like, what? The only thing about Mexican girls, though, is a lot of them are short. So I noticed, like, I'm really tall compared to, like, the average Mexican, at least in La Cachanilla. But a lot of the girls in Mexico were fine. I seen this one chick. She looked like an IG model. She had them big tetas right there, and she had... What are the things women wear where it's like it's like a shirt cut in half exposed with the strings across, a strings across tied right there? I was like, damn, mommy, who let you out the house looking like that, bruh? She was with her family too. I'm like, bruh, if I spoke Spanish, trust me, I'd be spitting game like Notre Dame, it was cool. We had some good ice cream. The ice cream in Mexico was fire. Like the Mexico and the Mexico and ice cream. The ice cream in Mexico was phenomenal. It's handmade. You could tell like it's not by Thrifties, by a machine, or if it is, it's like different ingredients or something, but it just tastes a lot fresher. A lot of the food in Mexico to me is like, it's not like America. In America, you get like this mass produced, you get this kind of corporate packaged, marketed type food, or just anything you buy in in America. In Mexico, though, it's all kind of like local, you know, and it's like a lot of mom and pop type shit. There's not really that many corporate if there are corporate businesses in Mexico, it's kind of like they're still running it like a mom and pop. Like, let's say like a Oxxo. Oxxo is like the 7-Eleven of Mexico, but there's like all the meats are local, or like all the fruits and all that. So it's not all the way corporate where they're like getting all their potatoes from like one place somewhere else, or like here, like they get like the 70% of all avocados in America come from like Michoacan or California, or some crazy statistic. Like a lot of the avocados come from one place in Mexico, in the US, but in Mexico, it's kind of like, it's a different story. They already have that type of shit around these markets where you could get them at locally. It was fire. You know, they had this little anime place in the mall. And I forgot to say, La Cachanilla is a mall. So in La Cachanilla, there's like a pharmacy. There's like a kind of like a JC Penney. There's different ice cream places, the dessert places, a food court, sell a lot of cell phone stores. There's an arcade there. I wish I would have went there and played some original Mortal Kombat. That arcade there at La Cachanilla has nothing but the original, like Street Fighter 1, 2, Mortal Kombat 3, all like the dope OG arcades that you would never see in America. In America, like the Dave and Buster's and shit, they have like, they're trying to come out with new shit. The older arcades that they have there are like Time Crisis, House of the Dead, what are them things, air hockey, you know, but a lot of other stuff is like more newer type arcades. Versus in Mexico, it's like all the OG Pac-Man, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, whatever was in the arcades at the time, they still have it there. There was this anime shop that it was cool because they had like posters and stickers and pins and cups of like different anime. I can't, remember, but like, let's just say, like One Piece, Pokemon. I didn't see Yu-Gi-Oh! That would have been dope. I would have got some shit. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably not as popular in Mexico as Pokemon for sure, but they just still had a whole bunch of cool shit over there. And I think I saw a shirt that says Satan is my sugar daddy or something. I'm like, wow, that's hilarious, because something like that would be really offensive in America. Like that would be like Satanism or like devil worshiping. But in Mexico, it's like, that's funny. Like that's humorous. The darker humor is acceptable for sure in Mexico. So the trip was really badass, it was really fun being over there. And speaking of Pokemon, there's one Pokemon, or actually I think there's 4. So I think if you're in the Yucatan Peninsula, you can get Heracross and Corsola, which are like, you have to be in the Yucatan Peninsula or in the Caribbean. And then Maractus and Halucha, I think you could get anywhere in Mexico. So, and it's funny because if you don't have those Pokemon and you're there in Mexico, it'll give you it. Like, it'll just tell you like, oh, it's there. All you got to do is go to, let's say, Oxxo or like the local park or elementary school, and it'll be there. Like, they want you, because if you're going to go there, like, I think the game, like, it knows like, okay, you're here, so you fucking just get it, right? And then after you get it the first time, you kind of got to look for it or be lucky to get it after that. Same thing with Tauros here in America. You could find Tauros, but because of like the events that they have, your chances of getting Tauros are pretty low. So it's the same thing with like all region Pokemon. Like there's Pokemon you can only get around the world. Like I think there's like a hieroglyph Pokemon thing you can only get in Egypt. It looks like a hieroglyphic. Just certain Pokemon you can only get around the world. I think Relicanth, it's like a fish fossil Pokemon. I think you can only get that like in New Zealand or Australia or something like that. North America, you get this. South America, you get that. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you could get something. Southern hemisphere, something. So there's different Pokemon that are only around the world in different places that you can only get there. So this one Pokemon, Halucha, which is like, it looks like a bird luchador. I didn't even know that they had just released it back in March. So once I seen it'll let you know like you don't have this Pokemon and it's here. I'm like, why does that look like Hawlucha? I'm like, don't I have a Hawlucha? And I look at my Pokemon Go, I don't have it, but in Pokemon Sword and Shield I do have it. So I'm like, oh shit, this is Hawlucha. I look it up. Sure enough, they just released it and you can only get it in Mexico. And I told my pop, I'm like, Pop, you gotta take us to get Hawlucha. And he was all like upset. My pops was like, I don't want to fucking pick up this Pokemon and shit. But I told him, I'm like, you can only get this Pokemon here, Pop. Like, who knows when I could get it. So reluctantly, we went with my tia Mago, me, him, my tia Mago, and we went straight there and back. Like, I thought my dad was going to want to chill for 5 minutes. Nuh-uh. We went straight there, which is like around the corner, maybe a mile, if that, around the corner. It spawned, and it's crazy because it only gives you a certain amount of time, so it'll pop up, but once, like on the way there, it'll tell you, oh, it left, and you're like, fuck. But sometimes I've noticed, maybe all the time I've noticed, if you actually just keep going and go there, it'll pop up, and that's what happened. It disappeared, and I didn't tell my dad because I've seen it happen before. We show up and boom, he pops out, and I'm like, yes, fuck yeah. I caught him. And it's a girl to a female. That's what I'm talking about. And I want to name her either like Selena, like Selena Vega, or like, you know, Quintana, or is that how you say Quintana? Quintanilla? Whatever Selena, the singer's last name is, whatever. Or Mercedes after, what was that wrestler's name? Sasha Banks. I love Sasha Banks. She's so fired. Hell yeah. Her real name is like Mercedes something. But I definitely do gotta, when I get off of this, I'm definitely gonna rename my Hawlucha, which is another key thing I love about Pokemon. It's like you could rename your Pokemon. Like I have a whole bunch of Pokemon named after Mafia members. Like I have a shiny Beedrill. It's a big bee, so I named it Bugsy, like after Bugsy Siegel. I have a bunch of different ones. Like I named Genovese. One I have one named Gambino, and they're all like under this Mafia tag. So if you look up Mafia in my inventory, you see like all of them, and they're all shinies. And that's kind of like the cool thing about Pokemon is like, if you're really into it, I know I'm like geeking out. For all you people who don't care about Pokemon, you could just, this is the end of the episode. I'm ending it on Pokemon. But if you're really into Pokemon, there's a lot to like. And I have like 3 different Pokemon Go accounts, which is kind of like a violation of their policies. But the other 2 are really for my kids, because I know I'm going to have children that are probably going to love Pokemon like their father. And once they are old enough to run the accounts themselves, they'll already be like at level 30 or like 40 plus, right? And I'm just like excited about it. I'm going to travel the world and catch Pokemon, and I'm going to be the very best that there ever was. And sing the whole Pokemon Go song. So the Mexicali trip, going back and seeing my tia, it was really fun, man. It was just really dope to see them again. A lot has changed, but not that much. And I slept in my grandpa's, where my grandpa slept. And it was crazy because my abuelito Lupe, you know, it's been fucking like almost 20 years since he passed away. I think his birthday, it just passed. My grandpa's birthday just passed. The anniversary of his passing is coming up in November, I think, or maybe it's this month. I don't know when it was, but it's coming up, right? But I felt his presence. I felt my grandpa's presence going into my grandma's house, like. And I remember, I think it's the same way. Like I felt like Jaime when I went to my my tia Pati's house in Pomona, they have they had the whole shrine for Jaime over there. Every time I go there, I feel Jaime. Like I feel his spirit, like a piece of his spirit. I feel his presence there. Same thing when I went to my grandma's house, I felt my abuelito's presence there, and it tripped me the fuck out. Like, not even in a bad way, but I was just like, wow, like, what's up, grandpa? Like, it's been a while, and like, if it's like a welcoming feeling, like, you're like welcome back, like almost like if like you get a good hug from like somebody, and it's crazy, bro. Like, our culture, the Mexican culture is very different. It's very rooted in your ancestors and your elders and just being connected, which I feel like a lot of that is lost in America, or maybe just like by the newer generations. Like, they don't really stick to the traditions. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like that's just more so of where it's going. But me, I'm definitely going to try to stick to where I come from and what I was brought up to know. So message of the day is never forget where you come from. Always be proud of where you come from. Even if you're like mixed, you got a little bit of Salvadorian, like a lot of Mexicans are, Guatemalan or whatever it is. Like, always be proud of your roots and where you come from and stick with that, bro, because your lineage is your identity. And the more you know about that, the more you learn about yourself. This is the God's Hour.
Mad Max was the turnout of my lifestyle. Smoking green, blowing white clouds to build the blue skies. Conversating with the gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Gods by my wildflower to let them know that it's the God's hour. This love's the never-ending saga. Walk through the sands of times like Gara. On the other side of that gad is karma. He wet Prada, the devil like inside your box now.
While the angels fly over my headstone.